Welcome to Marriage Depth with Dr. Wyatt Fisher. We're reducing the divorce rate. One marriage at a time is the goal, and following my 6 marriage steps is a path to help get us there. I'm your host, Dr. Wyatt Fisher, licensed psychologist and marriage counselor. This show is for you, America, your life and your marriage. So call 303-596-6836 or email info@drwyattfisher.com. That's drwyattfisher.com with your questions for me. Today I'm going to talk about 4 seasons of marriage. It's important to have this knowledge in your mind if you're married or if you're going to get married, because all marriages go through 4 seasons. This is based off a book by Gary Chapman. Highly recommend it if you haven't read this book already. It's about seasons of marriage. So I'm going to describe it and explain it so you can apply it. So the first season of marriage is summer. And just like our weather outside right now, things are hot in summer. The birds are singing, everything is in full bloom, everything is beautiful, and it's warm. Things are hot, things are sizzling. That's what it's like in our relationships when we're first starting to date our partner, when we're first starting to court them, or we just got married and we're madly in love with them and everything is perfect and they can do no wrong and all we see is the good in them. Remember those days? That is summer. Some of you might be in that stage right now, but that is summer. That's when we are falling in love. That's when we get hooked and we start thinking, I might want to spend the rest of my life with this person. That is summer. And a lot of people, unfortunately, think that the entire marriage is going to be summer. So then when the seasons change, they can make all sorts of false conclusions on what that means. But that's the first season that almost all couples go through, and that's why they fall in love, and that's why they get married, because they start out in summer. And you see this in weddings. Think about the last wedding you've been to, and watch the couple as they gaze into each other's eyes and they whisper sweet nothings into each other's ear and they can't stop touching each other. That's summer, when you're madly in love and things couldn't get better. Now, just like our weather, after summer comes fall. So if you think about the weather outside, unless you live in Hawaii or somewhere in the tropics, when it goes into fall, things start to cool down. So the leaves start falling off the trees. You have to start wearing some thicker clothes because you're starting to get cold. Things are starting to get cooler. So likewise in marriage, this may be the first time you've moved in together because you just got married, or maybe you've been with each other for, say, a few years now, or that honeymoon period is starting to fade away. And for the first time, you're starting to see flaws in your partner that maybe you never noticed, or maybe you did notice in the beginning, but you overlooked them because you were so madly in love with them. Maybe they're not meeting your needs as well as they did in the beginning. Maybe they're starting to annoy you. Maybe you're starting to have a little bit of resentment creep in because you're not resolving conflicts very well. And so you're still in love with them, but the volume knob on feeling in love has been turned down. So if couples don't take care of fall and start addressing these little cracks in the foundation that are starting to creep in there, a lot of couples will drift from fall right into winter. And so just like our weather outside, when it turns to winter, things are cold. It's snowing outside, the trees look dead, the birds are all gone, there's no chirping anymore, and it's pretty dreary. And not surprisingly, a lot of people get depressed in winter because of lack of sunlight, lack of activity. So this is a very dreary time, and likewise in marriage. So when a couple goes into winter, they don't feel in love anymore. They resent each other. They have a lot of conflict they probably have not worked through. Their needs are definitely not being met, and they're unhappy. That's winter. And this is where, if we're not careful, we can start drawing false conclusions. I must have married the wrong person. Or I'm never going to be happy in this marriage. I'm wasting my life. What am I doing in this relationship? Those are some of the tempting conclusions we can draw when we're in winter if we don't know there's seasons of marriage. That's why this is so important. Because in contrast, if you know you're in winter, you know it's a normal part of the seasons of marriage. It doesn't mean you want to stay there because it's very unpleasant. However, it gives you a different perspective if you can acknowledge and be aware that we are in winter right now. This is normal. All couples go through winter. So if you're wise and you're mindful that you're in winter, what you'll do in winter is dig in deeper. This is where you need to really start receiving some help, maybe from an outside counselor, some trusted friends, but you need some help. Your relationship needs help. It's dying. And so you need to learn to work through your conflicts. You need to learn how to meet each other's needs again more effectively. You probably need to learn how to communicate more effectively. You probably need to spend more quality time together. Your relationship probably needs a lot of work during this phase, so you have to dig in and give it the time and energy it needs. And if you do that, you can come out of winter and go into spring. And just like our weather pattern, spring is when the warmth starts to come back. Outside, the trees start to bloom again, and the flowers and the fragrance and the birds start coming back, and the grass starts getting green, and there's this warmth in the air. And likewise in our marriage, when we go through spring, the warmth and the in-love feelings start coming back. Our needs start to be met a little more. We start resolving conflict. We start feeling more positive towards our partner again instead of negative towards them. And we want to spend more time with them because we're feeling better in the relationship. We start falling back in love. So it's vital that you know all marriages go through these seasons, because when you know this is normal, you're going to respond so much more effectively when you go through the seasons instead of drawing false conclusions. So what season are you in now? Are you in summer? Are you in fall? Are you in winter? Or are you in spring? When I ask couples at my marriage conferences this question, sometimes one partner will think they're in summer and the other partner says, we're in winter. And so don't be alarmed if that happens. That can happen. But that's why you're talking about this. It's a good way to put words to where you're at and what you're feeling. And the follow-up question is, if you are in fall or if you're in winter, what do you need to move to the next season in your relationship to get better? What would it take to move your relationship into spring and into summer? What would that look like for you? What does your relationship need more of? What type of healing does it need? What type of intervention does it need? What type of help do you need? Be thinking about what you need to move into spring and into summer. Thank you for listening to Marriage Steps with Dr. Wyatt Fisher. For more information on my top 6 steps recommended for marital happiness, go to my website, drwyattfisher.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your family and friends. And if you believe in my mission to reduce the divorce rate one marriage at a time, please consider becoming a monthly supporter by going to patreon.com/marriage steps. That's patreon.com/marriage steps. Take care.